Activating the next generation is our Mannkal Foundation's challenge. As you know, one of the laws of economics says that the scarcer something is, the more valuable it is, and the Mannkal Foundation is a little bit like that, whereas most think tanks around the world concentrate on government policies and all sorts of manner of activities. We simply focus on young people because they're the challenge. They're the people that are open-minded to new ideas, and they're not restrained by politics, corporative values, or just simply the way things are done. They are far more prepared to accept that the current system of government just does not work. The older generation clings to the myth that changing a few political faces will make the world better. The younger generation doesn't buy into that at all. They know that the present political process is based on the promise that people are elected because they promise to deliver to one group stuff that they steal from another group. As Bastiat said, legalised plunder. Mannkal sponsors Australian students to intern in pro-liberty think tanks around the world, learning how free markets and free people ensure prosperity and peace. These students then return inspired and equipped to become effective advocates and future leaders. Not only are they promoting their values immediately, they will carry these pro-liberty ideas forward as their careers take them into positions of influence. One thing surprised us that we've had to sort of learn the hard way on this complex process of selection, training and following through with these students. To date, we've sponsored more than 700 students. Within 3 years, that will reach 1,000. That grassroots support base presents a great opportunity for Mannkal. Our challenge, therefore, today is threefold. Firstly, we need to improve our screening and training process to ensure that we choose the right students and prepare them. Secondly, we need your help to define the precise skills and knowledge that we want our scholars to acquire and build a network of think tanks around the world. Thirdly, and most critically, in order to get long-term value, we need to develop a focus to keep scholars engaged and committed. We need them to return the investment by sharing the knowledge and skills they acquire while they're away, and that they see personal value in remaining active within the free market movement. Our aim to achieve best practice will not only deliver benefits to Australia, but will also provide a template that other think tanks around the world can copy and apply. I want to leave this forum on Sunday morning with a comprehensive manual, a comprehensive how to do it, how to select these students and how to process them right through the thing. And that document will be available for all other think tanks to use. Your ideas will help us in this work. Thank you.
Where are you going? Okay, look for station 9. John Chisholm's there as well. All you can do is look through the numbers.
Let me get across. Can't see it. Square in the back.
Oh, it's in the corner.
Thank you.
How is this going to frame? Where are the elite going to intervene? Do they have enough influence to intervene in that process? Because the mass that they're facing against them is quite huge.
If you actually review this in an area like Columbus, some of those roads are interstates, which the state, city, and the country to be able to start doing work. Because if when we're in a city under everybody
mejor en acción que de una quieta aquí ahora.
Las ideas nos van pegando. No me están pegando la gira.
Cool.
If your post-its, they don't stick, you can spray them in the back.
With tape here too.
Name, and you don't know the name of the debate. They're engaging in the debate. And at the end of the day, what we did is the people who tweeted the most and engaged the most with the debate, we only looked out for the hashtag and the dates, and we got their mails because they had to previously give the mail, shoot an email and said, hey, would you be interested in this program or in this finding out more about these ideas? And actually what happened is like 50 people out of the 150 people that went to the event to see the polemics, we got 50 people, and from those 50, we got 11 that truly engaged. And those one become local coordinators. And the local coordinators have to become local coordinators. They have to pass a process. The process is read some papers at the end, and the exam, we take them an exam. This is the way we know this, the final screen, is that they have to do a strategic action plan. And it has to be make an event related to some policy, or make a gathering, or present projects in how to find other kids interested in the idea. So that was a way we screen out who was interested actually in what was happening and wanted to learn furthermore about the ideas.
So what I hear you saying is that the student that is most passionate about the discussion is the one who gets for a second round of interviews.
A second round. Weekly you send papers, you have to read, you have to send a short opinion. In that way you control and know the person is engaged. And at the end they have to make a strategic action plan in, okay, from what you have learned, how you promote it better, and what new ideas you have.
So if we could just, Ron, if you could just complete Michael's question, which was, how are you doing it now? You told us
We told you what doesn't work.
what does work?
What does work is to return students going out as ambassadors,
Finding
and bringing people in.
Do you have a chance? I mean, what didn't work was one department, economics, or you went to all departments, engineering, MBA?
Each university was different. There's 5 universities we went to see.
So why not go after the entrepreneurs or the students that want to do startups?
There's no course in entrepreneurship.
No courses at all.
In the universities in Australia. Australians, you have it here, you have it in the US, you have it in Indonesia, but there's no degree.
And how about in high school, on the senior level of high school? Any advancement in that? Any penetration in that? Because I know there's a number of...
We've got a student at FEE at Atlanta learning this FEE syllabus that we're designing for high school students. She's going to bring that information back, but we'll rely on our scholars to take that information to the high school.
Julio described how to recruit or spot talent and interest and passion among a self-selecting group that has brought itself together. That assumed a can opener. What is this group? You need this group first before you recruit the talent. And maybe you create the course in entrepreneurship, and from that you find the talent and the interest, because that's a very good way of starting.
Because the university doesn't teach entrepreneurship, we got to get involved.
Why don't you do it? Yes, exactly.
We need to put out the honeypot from which to extract.
Is there an openness to entrepreneurship as a topic? Because in some countries there is not. Is there?
Entrepreneurship is really like the average Australian. They think about all the failed entrepreneurs of the 1987 crash that left everyone poorer. So there's still a little bit of that left. That's entrepreneurship.
But for students, that's almost 10 years ago.
They never last.
So, I mean, the idea that Chris just brought up of you sponsoring the entrepreneur, instructor to adjunct professor, I mean, I've started and funded and raised money for many companies, and now I teach part-time an entrepreneurship course. And so they didn't have an instructor. Practitioners, you don't want an academic, you want a practitioner. MIT is practitioner. And so Stanford is practitioner. So we teach entrepreneurship from experience base. That would provide you with the student population. So it's like you've got to get ahead of this game.
The kids are hungry.
Well, why not do
The
that?
kids don't talk to me. The kids don't ask me about economic principles.
Why don't you go to a university and offer to teach
When I
entrepreneurship?
found, like, I asked for the permission in school, when they said this is something really interesting, we're going to have two point of view. And the thing is, like, young people, they like, polemics. Yeah, they like fighting, and when you see the one view and the other view, and what we saw, we use tools that they use now to communicate, Twitter, hashtag. So, and they're anonymous. They are not afraid to express
That's
themselves.
to get the argument.
Yeah.
What Chris is talking about is creating an entrepreneurship course.
Course and an event.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to tweet during the class.
No. Class is
No,
standard.
you have to do both. You need to sponsor a professor and a course, and don't let it be an academic, get a practitioner, and then of course events. Work with Students for Liberty or whom else, and recruit from those events exactly that same way. Course and an event.
BC, it's not large, but there's a BC community. There's MBA programs in the universities. There must be a need for an entrepreneurship course. Everyone has one. So you need to help create one.
That'll create their stories on the website. For them, it's like we got a platform to expose ourselves and to compete. I won. So that helped us also to spotlight people who were interested in these topics and also keep advancing in the promotion of ideas.
So I think it's important to keep there are two ideas here.
Okay.
Here we're
Yes,
talking
that was
about
exactly
conflict, contrast, keeping energy up. Chris is talking about getting you a feeder source, which is a university course. Well, this could be an event that you put on
A
anything.
meet-up group for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
That's a good one step outside of our organisation.
I think we have bring speakers. Is that so I understand what is the meetup group? Young people interested in this, so instead of a course, a volunteer
It's
organization.
an IT thing of common interest. There's meet-up groups for dogs and cats and
Everything,
articles
yeah.
and book readers and reviews. Meet-up groups all around the world. There's thousands of people.
Well, club is cool. An entrepreneur club is an excellent idea, but not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
And so you have to have a way of bringing people who are interested in new ideas, and by having a forum where competing ideas can be argued and they can be engaged in that, then they can see which one they are attracted to. You're going to actually naturally harvest the individuals that are more inclined to this and nurture those individuals. And I think that's actually a very, very good thing. Entrepreneurs, I think, apparently have this kind of genetic makeup. They want to have their potential unleashed. But individuals who maybe are more academic or artistic inclined, maybe more reclusive as a personality, or they don't even think of themselves as entrepreneurs, they would not, I think, be attracted to entrepreneurship per se. So multiple different venues in your net is, I think,
So for now, we just stumbled with the first problem, which is selecting students for the program.
just finding them.
Just finding them.
net,
So for
right,
now,
as
we
Michael
have
said.
two ways of achieving that. One is an entrepreneurship course, and the other one is events, forums, to have ideas competing, to screen people that are interested in those ideas.
And they're funneling into ways in which you can then start to screen the process.
Well, both of those ideas will lend themselves to screening and selection.
Exactly.
So, for example, in the entrepreneur course, there are students. We have a rainbow of needs.
Yes.
We actually have quantified this at MIT, where their students are just interested. I don't know what this is about. I just want to get an overview. There's students that are ready to launch a company. There's students that I'm never going to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to know what it is in corporations or public policy. So there's a broad range of students. But in the process of them going through the course and presenting a business plan or their presentation skills would give you some idea of whether they'd be good candidates. Same thing with the forum, debating ideas. If you watch that, you'll see who's strong and be able to pick.
Okay, so we have to focus on one of the two first strategies.
What are they going to do to help us?
Is that right?
And
Did they
so-
do that? Is that part of the selection?
I'm projecting that. Exactly.
We brief them that they're there to work.
Did they have a vote?
But what on and why and what value do they want to see derived for themselves as a result of
The think
them
tank.
being the think tank itself?
There's got to be value to those think tanks.
Is there a process? Are they engaged? It's my point. Do they get to say, I want this or I need this?
Yeah, I want so many papers, I want so many presentations, I want this.
That has evolved. It wasn't there in the beginning.
Is it generic approved by the student? I want to talk to Julio because I think he fits our program. So that's easy.
It's learning to match the students in resources when they just in the Fraser Institute. So there's a match, and they give them because Australia is a resource country, as Canada, they give them a resource-based project to work on that they bring back.
See, I don't know why you have to pick one. They almost sound like individual.
Yeah, it's for working. We have to start working with one, then we can go to the
It
second
seems
one.
to me that
No, I think
and
it's
I'm
good
probably
to work
prejudiced, but
on the both,
We'll
but
get
maybe
different-
one at a time.
We get
Yeah,
different
one at a
people
time.
out of each of those approaches. We'll get different people.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
It's fine. We want different people. We don't want a bunch of
well,
clothes.
one is easier to start. The events does not require a university to buy in.
That's true.
So you can do that by yourself. The other flip side of that is, of course, once set up, runs. And so that will be a pipeline that will build. The fact that there's not an entrepreneur course in an MBA program, there should be because the rest of the world doesn't. There's a huge demand for this right now. So if I knocked on the door of university or whatever city and talked to the MBA program and said, you don't have one? Okay, we'll provide one. That seems like, how could you say no to that, right? Every other major university in the world has one. So,
Indonesia can't believe we don't have courses in Australia. This is weird. Weird.
And there's no, it's not like it's a Marxist economy that shuts that out. Why don't we?
It's typically the academics, so as long as they get control or a pretty open opportunity for early capture, then they're on board. This is my experience. I've dealt with Murray Wiegenbaum Center, my alma mater, and as soon as before he passed, they had captured it and replaced him with essentially a nurse. So I think if they think you demand control, you may find resistance. So of course you start with the university that seems most aligned.
You don't need control.
No, actually, Arthur has a very good point because if you're financing the course, you're gonna tell a university, listen, you don't have an entrepreneurship course, I can put it in your university, I'm gonna fund it, I'm gonna tell you who's gonna teach it, what he's gonna teach, and that's your pipeline. Wow. For me, you got the problem solved. Part of the problem solved.
Well, you build a lot because you'll get the presentation as a way to select. I mean, if my students present their business plan, and watching what they've done to develop the business plan,
That's a very good screening. Yes.
One consideration on the entrepreneurship idea is that not all entrepreneurs are interested in being missionaries in the world. You know, and they're not social activists, you know, like that. Not until they get mugged. And then they might get interested like that. And so I think that, you know, multiple different venues, having more aspects in your net is very valuable. But then you start to refine what are you looking for in those individuals.
You could go even further and say not all the students who take entrepreneurship course are going to be entrepreneurs. They're not.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not. There's a broad range, but they still might be a feeder, even if they're not going to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
They could still be a feeder to your program.
And I think there are certain characteristics of those that are predisposed to entrepreneurship that would be definitely to the advantage that you're hoping to find in these other venues in the event.
Even if they're just looking for an overview or plan to work in corporations.
And willingness to overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
You know, things of that nature. Creative, creative problem solving.
What do you think would be the unit of desire for a student that wants to work in this program?
Well, it expands. I think that a major thing would be some kind of an idealistic, you know, inspiration, you know, for that. And at the younger ages, that is harder to see. It's usually because of some kind of an affiliation, or they were in inspired by some book or something like that. And you're usually catching pretty high intelligence individuals on that.
You could go all the way from that to the person who wants to expand their network by going to such a place
Right.
and getting that experience. And
I like that
people.
girl. I think I'm going to follow her in.
I was thinking business network.
I don't ignore any incentive.
I want to.
You're speaking
I
from
want to ask
experience.
one question and share one thing. Question is, do you get a lot of media hits or something? Are you placing these trained people already in media, radio, or spots to become like because one thing that attracts a lot is creating rock stars, liberty rock stars. And what I mean by that is like, for instance, you have a youngster who is well educated on the idea and speaks right, and if people start seeing him on the television, you can sell because he say, I like that guy, I want to be like that guy, I want to follow that guy. And if you start having like placing already the people you have trained and prepared on media and start getting media hits, when you make events with them, people just want to hear them because, oh, the guy on the television, I want to see how debating with, I don't know.
Have you had any success with that?
Yeah, it works. We're
Tell me,
trying. We're
'cause I
starting.
have not had success with that, and I'll tell you my story.
I haven't either.
We have been starting working in that, and people is saying like, oh, the guy that and he studied in this university, and like they start like, only from getting to know the person.
It's a different referral.
Yeah, and the second question is one thing I've learned so far is that there are three words that match the process, and I learned this from the World Economic Forum. I'm a global shaper as well, and Professor Schwab, what he taught us was the process in creating a movement, a social movement. Everything is defined in three words: binding, bonding, building. Binding, find the people, put them on a place. Bonding, that's the step, the most important step that people jumps all the time. You should make, if you can have a retreat, believe me, a retreat for the people selected for the program is strong. Having the people placed in one place, that helps a lot creating connections. Those connections will never fall apart. And then when those people already know themselves, they have bonded, they can build anything you want. So that process, binding, bonding, building, helps a lot in building what you want, which is at the end a young movement of activists pro-market. So don't forget about the bonding part, because it's a part that most of the time people forget and ignore in the process of creating the movement.
So what you're saying is it's a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Create a group in the sense
I want to be a part of.
We do it every year with the Latin Americans, also Americans, Europe. The selected local coordinators, we send them to a place where the previous coordinators tell them the experience, share, they debate about the ideas, what they're going to do, the plans, their universities, their realities, and that only those 3 days retreat for them is an experience they don't forget, because they met people from other parts, from other universities, from other realities, and they see they are not alone. They have a community, people who are doing the same as them, and will be for them if they need help, and they can exchange experience.
Michael wanted to share something.
Well, I like the momentum this is going. I don't want to talk about too much of the difficulties that I've faced.
But I think it's...
But I started Radio Free Market in 2009 as a project to try to create young people, to talk to young people on these issues. And I worked it out with a network, and at one point we had a weekly show that we had about 10,000 people that were listening to it every week. And so I went to the Mises Institute in Auburn, Alabama 3 times and attended their 1 week Mises University, specifically to find and recruit young people that I could train to do these kinds of interviews, so that hopefully they would be these rock stars in the freedom movement, and they would carry it forward and so on. And I had an A list of individuals that I had access to be able to interview. So I would set up the interviews, I would tell them, here's the outline, general outline, you're in charge, you go do it, and then we would tape it, we would edit it, we would promote it, and all of that kind of thing. I had at one point 8 different young people that I selected and worked with, and it was an enormous project. not one of them actually decided to continue on and really move on to the next level. And I was funding everything and just giving them just an enormous amount of my time and effort like that. And they were getting a lot of positive feedback in their little groups like that.
These were relatively young.
They were college grads.
So they haven't yet achieved. So what I have experienced,
Yes.
if they're already a rock star and have a story to tell, that gets the hits. But if they're new graduates or new coming back from this program or your combined, the interest is not there yet. They're not yet a rock star. Well, they haven't achieved enough
And even though I was doing 90% of the work, I would often get happen several times, and they would just quit.
Yeah.
And it's too much work. It was like, what? What do you got to do? It's like crazy. But and these were quite committed individuals. Luke being one of them, and actually did some fantastic. He was a graduate from Mannkal. I met Ron through Luke, and enormously competent individual. So, as a sub-problem, I'm very interested in any ways that you can do this. I like this idea of creating a retreat where they do this binding, bonding, building thing. That may have been the missing ingredient that I didn't include in the equation.
It's interesting because it feels that they've got to be a rock star first.
Well, if you look
They've
at,
got to have a high profile first.
if you're turning out to the general public of other young people, right? So I tune in to someone who's just 23 and has come back from your program and is graduating.
I've been very fortunate in my life by being surrounded by people who know far more than I do. And I was blessed in having a fantastic team here of Pablo and Art and Michael and Julio, Chris, Juan and Terry. So luck was on my side. As I mentioned, when we kicked off the theme of us of Mannkal Foundation's work here is launching the next generation of market activists. Our goal is a simple one. It's simply to recruit a whole battalion of free market activists. That hasn't changed by being here, but the method, the efficiency of the way we're going to approach this has changed. It's changed in the three aspects that you're seeking is the pre-scholarship training and the student selection. Creating scholarship programs with the host think tanks, and the third one is creating ongoing value to the students and receiving ongoing value back from the students. And it's certainly in the last of those three categories that we received some incredible input. The first challenge was the pre-scholarship program, which was Mannkal's student selection. We haven't been using Twitter and the social media as we should. Perhaps this is a generational thing, because I'm just a tad over 18 years of age. I needed a bit of help, so we learned some fantastic tricks on how to use Twitter to recruit new activists, and we'll go straight on to that. And another way of not having just boring essay contests, but how to incorporate a few little tricks on the way through to make it part of the recruiting program. And the third one is to help the local universities create courses in entrepreneurship, which strangely enough seems to be lacking in Australia. And we know that Indonesia has got degree courses in entrepreneurship, but for some reason we haven't caught up with this in Australia. The action plan on this particular thing, one of our directors is Professor Stephen Schwartz. He's a world authority on online learning. So let's use him up. Let's have a public event at which he can, this is a pretty contentious subject, particularly among the universities. And I think we can have a very controversial event using Stephen Schwartz as a keynote, and it's going to be a great way to recruit more students. We've got titles selected for the essay contest, which will be running in May and August. We'll get that later. How do we measure all this stuff just even from point one? Well, mid-year we'll run something along the wonderful lines here of the Antigua Forum, of which we'll have our own directors, our own ambassadors, and our own advisory council to let the whole range of our people we're communicating with participate in this. And the action plan for number 2, which is working with the think tanks, our focus has been on measuring the results for the students. But equally, and what I learned from here is equally important, is to make sure that the host think tanks are also getting value. So we'll put equal time into getting feedback from the think tanks and in what way did our student help them with their projects from day one. Here's a way to do this, I'm sure. The interesting point was, a simple point, was that every year, instead of just running the same program year after year, move into every year as a brand new, fresh approach. Change it like we're starting a life again. We're being reborn every year, and pass that enthusiasm on to the new incoming students. Was that the start bell?
No, that was a 5-minute bell.
Okay. That's a really gutsy stuff, but I'll finish. I'll just conclude on what am I going to do with all this stuff. The real challenge is to transmit the knowledge and the enthusiasm that I received at the Antigua Forum. Just transfer that back to Australia, to our Mannkal team, and make it stick. Thank you so much. a bunch of very apprehensive people.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bill. Do you want a chair?
Bill, take the chair.
You should watch out because the branch is broken up there. So
Okay.
It'll be a sign.
There you go.
So we know that they are deeply connected with all this whole process, and even though sometimes they are invisible, there's a lot of work behind that. So thank you so much. The second thing is that we want to thank each of you for your marvelous contributions, and we have been working in this special gift that we want to give you, that it is like the Antigua Forum booklet, in which we tried to summarize some of our learning through the last 3 years doing Antigua Forums. Talking about the process, talking about special questions that we can ask, designing solutions, and remembering that intersection between political reformers and entrepreneurs that we started talking about, packing it in these cards that you can take home, and we hope that they are useful whenever you want to think out of the box, looking for new solutions for all problems. So thank you so much, and we will take some minutes to give them to you, and we really enjoy this final moment sharing with you these learnings.